Hey friend, Chris here from WhyLogicProRules.com, the website that helps you get the most you can out of Apple's Logic Pro. Today I have the privilege of sharing with you a brand new product from one of my favorite companies ever in this industry, and that is the Boom interface from Apogee. Now, if you've been following the channel for even a moment, you should be aware, number one, I love Logic Pro so much. But number two, I also love Apogee gear so much. What I love about Apogee is just a dedication to quality. Number one, quality converters, preamps, DSP effects that you can run off of the different interfaces for near zero latency monitoring, but with plug-in processing. But number two, I also love that there's a thoughtfulness in terms of the functionality and the capabilities and the routing that these different devices offer and how they tie together with the DAW, specifically with Logic Pro. So when Apogee offered to send me the Boom interface to check out, I had to jump at the chance, and I'm so glad that I did. So today's video is going to be a tour and a review of this brand new interface, and I have it right here in front of me. The Boom interface is freaking banging. It is a beautiful purple, and obviously it's very portable. It's a 2-in, 2-out USB-powered audio interface from Apogee. It is rugged as hell. I love this thing. It has Apogee quality converters, preamps, DSP effects, at a price point that is available to the rest of us. So if you've been looking at Apogee gear, but you can't justify the price point for some of the different options, the Boom changes all of this. I should point out, of course, that Apogee sent this unit to me to check out for free, but that doesn't guarantee a review. It doesn't guarantee good vibes. But I just pointed out, I love Apogee gear. So let's take a tour of the Boom interface. I really think you're going to like it. It's for the producer or musician, I believe, on the go, or if you just need a single input or two. Let's do this. So let's check out what's in the box of the Boom interface. To start with, when you open the box, you should be treated to just a little bit of paperwork. Number one, a foldable card of warranty information for your brand new interface. But number two, a card that will direct you to Apogee's website to register your device, to download the different installers and documentation. Super simple. After that, there is also a USB-C cable to USB-C. But of course, if your particular Mac doesn't offer you a USB-C port, there's also a USB-C to USB-A connective adapter, which is pretty slick in my opinion. And then after that, of course, is the Boom interface, which just looking at this interface, it looks fantastic and it looks very accessible and portable in my opinion. Looking at the front of the interface, we have on the left-hand side, one Combi XLR jack, which is a mic preamp that you can drive a microphone of any sort, whether it be a dynamic or a condenser, etc. But you can also use this as a high-Z instrument input and also a line level input as well for both professional devices and more consumer-based devices. Next to that is a dedicated 1/4-inch input that again can be used as a high-Z instrument input or a line level input. And then to the right, you'll notice there's a single rotary knob for adjusting the different levels of the different inputs and outputs on the device. And you know which input or output you are focused in on when you're adjusting level based on the blue LEDs above the rotary knob. And there's also two blue LEDs that will be turned on if you enable any DSP effects on either input. And then there's also a row of green LEDs to the left of the rotary knob that will tell you what the level is for your different inputs and outputs. Looking at the rear of the device, we have a USB-C port, of course, to connect the Boom to your Mac or iOS device. There's a set of stereo outputs to drive your left and right studio speakers. And there's also a single headphone output on the back of the unit that is based on Apogee's acclaimed 0-ohm headphone amp technology. And on top of that, there is an option for a Kensington lock to keep your interface safe as you're out and about working with this device. Getting started with the Boom interface is as simple as can be. You basically head to the Apogee website and you click on My Account in the top menu bar. From there, if you haven't created an Apogee account already, go ahead and create an account. And then in your newly created Apogee account, let's register your new Boom interface. Once registered, you'll see the Boom interface in your account, along with installers for some bonus apps that you can download. But also you want to be sure to download the Apogee Control 2 app. This is crucial to using the Boom interface. So let's take a look at the front of the interface alongside the Apogee Control 2 software, where so much more of the functionality of the interface is available to you. Taking a look at the Apogee Control 2 app, Every single aspect of this interface, from the DSP effects to phantom power to managing different aspects of the interface, is fully accessible on your Mac. To start with, we have a device dropdown. If you have more than one Apogee interface connected to your Mac at that moment, you can select between the different interfaces to focus the view of the control app on that chosen interface. There's also a sample rate dropdown that allows you to choose between sample rates starting from 44.1 to 192 kilohertz. You can also adjust the length of time that the peak hold and overhold lasts for on the different meters. And then we have a channel view that shows us both the analog inputs and the playback systems as well, which we'll dig into just momentarily. And then, of course, we have a mixer view. Analog input 1 and 2 offers you the ability to adjust the analog level of each input. You can introduce a pad as well to each input, just in case your signal is too loud, even with a gain at 0. There's a gain knob for each input. It goes all the way up to 62 dB, which is plenty of gain to run even an SM7B, which is a notorious microphone that requires a lot of gain to run and use. There's DSP effects that you can enable for each input, which includes the awesome ECS Channel Strip that provides EQ, compression, and drive or saturation that you can print to your recorded tracks into Logic Pro. These plugins run off the DSP built into the interface itself, providing plugin processing with near zero latency monitoring. We have phantom power on the input settings that you can enable or disable from the control app software. You can gang the two inputs together, and any gain adjustments are applied to both channels. And in fact, if you decide to make any sort of adjustment to one and not the other, and then gang them together, those adjustments are maintained. And there's even a polarity invert button in case you're recording a single signal from two different angles with two different microphones, such as a snare drum. And of course, we have sliders for panning and faders if you choose to use the software mixer of the Apogee Control 2 software instead of software monitoring in Logic Pro. And you can even mute or solo the different inputs or playback systems, and you can stereo link the two channels together. If you plan on recording a single source with both channels, such as, let's say, a stereo signal from a keyboard or a synth. On the right-hand side is the mix master, which is the direct monitoring from the interface itself. You can also assign software inputs 1 and 2 if you need any sort of loopback function. You just want to make sure to set the stereo outputs in Logic Pro to 3/4 so you don't create a feedback loop. And in fact, I would mute 3/4 in the Apogee Control software as well. And after that, we have the headphone and stereo speaker outputs. You can adjust the level of the speaker output from the software, the headphone output as well. You can mute, dim, or sum to mono either output. What's super cool is you can choose from different playback systems, mixer systems, and even monitor directly from the hardware inputs. So perhaps you want near zero latency monitoring. You could choose the mixer to monitor through for either your speakers or the headphones. Or if you prefer to monitor from the main stereo output from Logic Pro, you could pick playback 1 and 2. Or if you want to directly monitor from analog input 1, so you want to hear exactly what's coming from the microphone or the instrument that you've plugged into the interface, you can. And obviously, you most likely would choose this for the headphone output. Not necessarily for the speaker output, but of course you can if you so desire. And then you could choose for the main monitor output a variable output format, which most likely most of us are going to want to choose, or a fixed output, which I would only choose this if you're connecting the boom to a monitor controller or you have some sort of external monitor knob, because once you set it to fixed, the level is going to be set to 0 and it's going to be very, very loud. And you can set the monitor output to either a professional value or a more consumer-based value. So how these work in tandem is that as you press on the rotary knob on the interface, you're able to adjust the focus of that knob to the different inputs and outputs. So as I click on the knob, we'll change the focus to either input 1, 2, or the main stereo output. And the blue LED on the interface will let us know which input or output is the focus at that moment. And then I'll adjust the level so you can see that level adjusted in the Control 2 app. We can also adjust the level of the outputs of the boom interface by once again pressing on the knob on the interface. Once the LED is lit up for the output, we then turn the knob to adjust the level of that output. If you press and hold on the rotary knob on the hardware, you can also mute the outputs. And this is indicated by the blinking blue LED. Unmute just by pressing and holding again. An interesting detail about the Apogee BOOM interface is that you can use only one output or the other. So you can use either the stereo speaker output or the headphone output. Basically, anytime that you want to record, you would obviously most likely would be recording with headphones. So when you plug your headphones into the interface, the speaker outputs are then muted automatically. At this point, if I adjust the output level, instead of adjusting the speaker output, we'll be adjusting the headphone output. And once you're done recording and you're ready to listen to your music on your studio speakers again, you just disconnect your headphones from the BOOM interface. At this point, let's sit down and actually record a track using the BOOM interface and the included DSP effects. We'll print the ECS channel strip to a bass guitar recording on the way into Logic Pro. I've already gone ahead and recorded one version of this bass without the printed effects that you can see in the top track here for comparison's sake. And we're going to record to the second bass track lane right here. So let's connect our bass guitar to the BOOM interface. And I'm plugging my bass into the first input instead of the dedicated instrument input, just so when we dig into the Apogee Control 2 app, we can see under analog level, we can switch from our mic preamp on board to either line level to a high Z instrument input. With my bass in hand, let's take a listen. Cool. Now I'm going to introduce an instance of the ECS channel strip, and I'll be sure to power it up for input 1. And we're just going to get real ignorant with this bass tone right now. I'm going to introduce some compression and even some saturation, and I'm going to go way high with this. Probably want to dial this back a bit. Let's take a listen to what that sounds like. Cool. And I even feel like we could use a bit of 3K. In fact, I'm just going to dial it up by 15 dB, and we'll even bring in a healthy dose of high end. So we're just getting really aggressive with this. Cool, so this ECS channel strip is included on the print path or recording path into Logic Pro. This EQ, compression, and saturation will be included in the recording. At this point, let's set our input to that of input 1. And let's record enable this track. I'm going to leave software monitoring disabled as I plan on monitoring with near zero latency through the BOOM interface itself. Awesome. Let's record disable this track and take a listen to this bass guitar both before and after the ECS channel strip. So this is a bass recording without any of the DSP effects in the recording path. And then with the ECS channel strip in the recording path. I mean, that's quite a difference. Let's go back to back. I don't know about you, but to me, that sounds pretty fantastic, especially for this kind of loud, fast punk rock vibe for our bass guitar. Cool. That's the tour of the BOOM interface. Now, what are my feelings about it? Well, I love it. I think it's an incredible value. I mean, number one, you have Apogee quality converters and preamps and DSP effects finally at a price point that is much more accessible than their other offerings. And the preamps alone has enough gain to run an SM7B microphone, which is notorious for requiring a lot of gain. The headphone amp is fantastic. The stereo outputs sound fantastic. And I love that functionality that if you plug in your headphones, the stereo speakers are muted. Because obviously you probably want to be recording at that moment and your speakers shouldn't be on. You want one or the other usually, right? On top of that, the ECS channel strip that comes with on the DSP of the interface is fantastic. It's my favorite plugin from Apogee. If you're looking for just general tonal shaping and compression and saturation, you can't do any better. Beyond that, it's rugged. It feels substantial in a good way that, it's here for the long haul. I like how portable it is. It looks stylish. I mean, I love Apogee gear. But I really think this is a great value at $299 US. And frankly, I'm glad to replace some other hardware that I have. Anybody want to purchase Focusrite Scarlett Solo from me? Just email me. That'd be awesome. So anyways, I love this device. I think it's fantastic. I really mean that. I've been very consistent in the fact that I love Apogee gear. So if you found this video helpful, please subscribe to the channel, Why Logic Pro Rules, or subscribe on the website itself, whylogicprorules.com. Every week I'm posting new videos, emails, or posts to help you get the most you can out of Apple's Logic Pro. Take care.